Okay. So I've been trying to wrap my head around this whole idea of when women go into labor and they give birth. Okay, one, they're experiencing severe amount of pain. Everybody is fully aware of that, I'm pretty sure. And it's on a scale of what most men definitely could not handle. So it's going to release some chemicals that are extreme within the brain as well. Can have euphoric effect. But then go back to the whole idea that whatever the mother experiences, there's a tendency, even energetically, to pass that on. And so I was thinking about the whole idea about a son and a daughter, okay? If, let's say, the son, right, there's S-O-N and S-U-N. If, let's say, the son carries the heat, right, and then the daughter is supposed to be like the water, the emotion or whatever. So you got fire and you got water, okay, elements wise. And then let's say the anger portion or the pain portion is what like feeds a flame, right? It's fire energy, and then the emotional part is what feeds the water. There's that, the idea of that, where that could come from, giving birth to a child, why that would pass on, and then pass down. And then when it comes to relationship balancing, balancing yin and yang, but I guess it could be like a hot and a cold energy. And I know a lot of men seem to be, the ones that I've been around anyway, seem to be like their own, almost like their own personal friggin' heater. Like they have their own heat element to them. And the way their pelvis is formed, with women, when they start to take on the masculine energy and they start to carry themselves a certain way, especially with a core structure, they can recreate that heat source, that energy, that masculine flame almost. So then it comes to the whole idea too about the, not necessarily like a reptile having to seek heat source, but women tend to like the heat more. They tend to almost like a cat. They tend to like seek out heat source. You know, the ones that aren't really carrying the masculine energy as much, maybe. Anyway, so that aside, then there's a whole idea of how long is the umbilical cord? And what is the distance from the typical woman's height, her pelvic area, to the ground? And how long is the umbilical cord? Now, it extends and reaches far beyond the distance between the pelvic area, the birth canal, to the ground. So my download or theory or whatever is, picture an astronaut in space, and they have their suit, and they have a cord that is supposedly hooked up to the spaceship itself, the mothership, the spaceship itself. So instead of free floating away into space, almost like as if you were to be in a womb, almost like the amniotic fluid sort of floating around. Instead of floating away in space, you're attached to something. And so physically, I was thinking that what could replicate that but water. And then I was like, what if most births that are taking place, what if they are supposed to be in the water? What if the whole reason the umbilical cord reaches that far further than the ground, which is why I think a lot of births eventually were taking place with the woman on their back, even though that's not a natural birthing position. That's a receiving position. But because of the risk of the birth happening and then any injury to the child's skull, a lot of over the decades and centuries, they realized to give birth that way would be easier. But I believe that children should have a water birth, like the child should be born in the water. That would make full sense, in my opinion. And the fact that it's almost makes me wonder what the first birth was like. Almost the first birth would have been out of water for the very first time, and just sort of images that get passed to me, the thoughts of the very first birth on land. If technically, it makes me wonder, do apes have that too? What about primates? Do they have umbilical cords? What other creature has umbilical cords? Anyways, gets me back to that. Water birth. Even myself, I always stated that if I ever had a child, it would be I would be delivering it in water. Automatically, since I was a child, I've always loved water. When I was little and I would enter any body of water, it would be like almost nearly, like hard to get me out of the water. I love swimming so much. I love being around water. I love being in water. I really do believe that's my core element. That's funny. I'm Cancerian. I was supposed to be born 2 weeks early.